Everyone, I wanted to kind of catch up with some of the videos of the writers that we've been reading recently. I got a little bit behind right before fall break and then coming back from fall break. So I hope you all enjoyed fall break and are ready for the stretch run of the semester. But wanted to kind of cover a few of the poets that we read before fall break in this video. Also, I just remind you that your essay one is due on the 28th. And do be sure as you write that essay and turn that in that you've got a strong thesis statement, an argument that you are supporting with evidence from both the primary works, meaning the stories, poems, and then also with some secondary sources, an amount of which need to come from the Roane State Community College databases. You can find them by going to the library website, go to research guides there at the library's website, and then from research guides, you can find the English um, research guide. And in the English research guide, there's like four databases. My favorite is JSTOR, but use those to find some of your sources. And I would also encourage you make sure that you cite them correctly in MLA, cite the secondary container. That way that I know that you have utilized the databases. But I wanted to talk today about the three poets that we read before fall break, E.A. Robinson, Robert Frost, and T.S. Eliot, just very briefly. We are moving now into the modernism era. We will be discussing that here pretty soon. You've been reading this week Fitzgerald, Faulkner, Hemingway, a lot of those modernist writers. That's kind of been the focus of this week. Um, all three of these poets are modernist poets. Some of them, obviously, a little bit more so than others. E.A. Robinson, even though he's a modernist poet, he does set a lot of his poems, at least the poems that we read, in a fictionalized version of his small town where he's from. Uh, that is in Maine that he named Tilbury Town. But Tilbury Town is the home of various individuals, and some of his poems are about those people, and several of them are kind of struggling with the move into modern life that modernism often represents. We've got Richard Cory, who despite all of his outward successes, ultimately does commit suicide. And you've got Miniver Cheevy, who is kind of longing for a romantic medieval era that really and truthfully, he wouldn't have enjoyed either. He's, kind of getting drunk, wishing he was somewhere else, some other time, some other place. And that's probably just as much about him as it is about the time and place he inhabits. But you are seeing with these poems some examples of modernism, of human beings struggling with the modern world that they are witnessing at the rise of the 20th century. um, Robert Frost is a bit more traditional, like his poems seem very almost romantic in some cases because of his focus on New England, which we often kind of have a romanticism about in this country because of the pilgrims and stuff like that. But one thing to note about Robert Frost is even though he is seen as a poet of New England, he lived a lot of time there. He's actually born in California, and he had some Southern roots. He was named after Robert E. Lee. That's where the Robert in Robert Frost comes from. But Robert Frost was a very popular poet. Particularly, he becomes very well known as an older gentleman when he is a speaker at the inauguration of John F. Kennedy in 1961. That was kind of something that put him in the well known to people of whether they were, poetry readers or not. A lot of people saw him give his speech at that and read his poetry at that gathering. But we read some of his poems, some of them are probably quite familiar to you. Fire and Ice, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. I would mention that The Road Not Taken, it does often get confused with the parable by Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus talks about, there's the straight and narrow versus the wide path that leads to destruction. That's not really what Frost is writing about here. Frost is writing about two choices, neither of which is better or morally superior. It's just that once you make a choice, many of us do in our lives, it greatly impacts the journey ahead. And we go down a certain path that we otherwise would not have gone down if we had made the other choice. So it's not like the parable, saying you got to select the straight and narrow. This is saying both choices are equally valid, and just one of them is going to take you in a certain direction that the other one wouldn't have. But we do see some of the, some modernism without out the young boy's death. That is, just kind of a dark poem where he's a young boy, he's doing man's work, but he gets too excited, and an accident happens, which ultimately results in his death. But he's just like a kid excited about getting off of work and is careless, and that leads to his death and out. Um, also, one other before I move along to Eliot. Um, oh, and let's see. We have Mending kind of is showing a lot of the isolation of the modern world. It ends with the famous line, "Good fences make good neighbors." And you can take that multiple ways, but it is kind of a good representation of, you know, modern sensibilities and our social interactions with one another that we're seeing as a part of the modern world. And then finally, I would like to just briefly mention T.S. Eliot. If you struggle with The Wasteland, don't worry. Many people have. It's just full of illusions. Eliot, who is American, but he lived much of his life in England, was kind of just showing off to a lot of his intellectual buddies with that particular poem with The Wasteland. I do think it is a little bit pretentious, although it is a very good poem. I much prefer J. Alfred Prufrock, which is a great modernist poet, where the character is not romantic in any means. He is struggling with modern life, with kind of feeling inadequate. And that poem, although very bleak, is kind of a neat poem. I would encourage you to listen to. I think there's a link in the PowerPoint where the actor Anthony Hopkins reads it, but it's just kind of a great, meditation on modern life. Very dark. This guy is, measures his life in coffee spoons. The mundane, the things that we do day in, day out. It's not a significant marker of time. It's just drudgery. And that's kind of the experience of that Eliot is kind of illustrating there. So I thought we'll be catching up with the writings that we've read in recent weeks. But those are the poets that we read right before fall break. Sometime probably next week, I will be doing some more videos over Fitzgerald and some of the other writers we have read recently. Thank you.